pillars all combined together with a formula and a regimen and a cadence of success are still the fundamental pillars of what we've utilized to grow. And, just like everything, you kind of hit these highs. And, we went from an 11 person company to a 150 person company. Now we're at that level and we're fixing everything at the next tier to go from 150 to 500.
Brendan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Good. It's great to be with you. I appreciate you taking the time. As always, this is the Weather Report. I'm Philip Aldifer with my amazing co-host, Jason Flynn. Jason, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. And since it's a weather report, I always talk about our weather here. I can't figure out what's going on. So let's just move on. It's like kind of rainy, kind of sunny. It's like rainy on one side of the office, sunny on the other. It's amazing. I don't know what's happening.
So depending on when you're watching this, we're actually filming in mid-May 2024, and welcome to spring. Welcome to spring in California.
Exactly. We're there.
All right. So Brendan is an amazing team leader, coach, rainmaker, 20 plus year vet in the real estate business. But before we get to the background, I wanted to jump in and start with this question, because I know this is kind of, in some ways, it's central to my understanding of who you are. And what I would love for you to just maybe share a little bit about before we get to your background is the Third Way Center in Colorado. What is? Tell our folks about that.
Yeah. So thank you, Philip and Jason, for having me. So my name is Brendan Bartic. For those that are listening and I haven't had the chance to meet, when he's talking about the Third Way Center, I came up in a little bit of a unique situation in my childhood. My family wasn't fit to take care of me, so I went into the social service system at age 11. And Third Way Center is an organization that helps disadvantaged youth from the ages of 11 to 21 deal with and navigate those types of traumatic situations. Every kid that we serve about 200 kids in 5 different houses to teach them how to deal with trauma and how to deal with life skills and how to get them a job and how to, in my instance, Third Way Center helped me emancipate at age 17 and join the Army. They helped me get my GED because at the time, because my family situation was so unstable, I wasn't able to go to school. And the last grade I completed was the 7th grade. So yeah, it's an amazing organization. We're actually having a fundraising event tonight called Hope on the Range. And so, yeah, we service kids that have experienced everything, not only massive trauma. So most of our kids have come from abuse situations, right? Where the state has removed you from the home because your family has done things to you that is not good. Sometimes it's just the kids have issues. We deal with a lot of kids now that have traumatic brain injuries. So you kind of think about football, right? Like TBIs and all these guys that are having their concussions. Well, what we've found from the research is most kids that have, rage and emotional issues, it's because there was a brain trauma early on. And when I say brain trauma, your dad hit you with a baseball bat, or your mom kicked you down a flight of stairs, or you could have fell off the trampoline and hit your head on something. And that also creates all of these issues. So we help a lot of kids sort through that with a very holistic approach, but also at times there needs to be medication involved. And it's all about the brain, right? I always tell people there's no bad kid. There's just bad things that happen to that kid along the way. And we'd really try to serve that population to help them become wonderful adults and contribute to society and not end up in prison. So that's the Third Way.
That's Third Way. It's an amazing organization. I wanted to get that out there first because I know it's a passion project for you, and it's also I want the other reason to bring it up this early in the conversation is because I wanted to ask how your time in that system and your current participation with Third Way shapes the way you look at building a real estate team and business To what degree does one influence the other?
Yeah, well, it definitely influences it. I think what you're thinking through is just like everything. There's a process, and you've got to start with just like with any agents that we coach or any agents that we lead. We have to help people get clarity on what they want, right? And so even when I came into Third Way Center, they had a model, right? It's a model. It's Dr. Messenbaugh, our founder. She's 50-year veteran psychologist. She created a model of how to deal with trauma and how to process teenage and young adult issues.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they did. It's called the 6-box method. She has a book on it. And so very early on, it was interesting to me to go, just like anything, whether it's trauma or real estate or sports or learning how to play the piano, right? There's a model. There's a model. And
Yeah.
you have to, again, follow the formula. It's not always going to be a perfect formula. It's not like Gary always says, it's like we wish it was like this, right, going straight up on the
Yeah.
diagonal, but it's like woo, woo, and bounces around,
Yeah.
and all of these things. But you're still always coming back to the model. So and then obviously the military, helped me with that. I also worked for Ritz-Carlton as a hotel manager, and so the Ritz-Carlton taught me a lot of those same structural skills. And so, yeah, I've been, I guess, unlucky and lucky in the fact of being in certain organizations that were just really focused on structure, systems, and if you have the right model, you can basically do anything. And so
Do anything.
that's how
Yeah.
that's how it helps.
Yeah. So tell folks a little bit about your team, because I think that's the, I mean, you've had outsized success in this industry. So let's ground folks in what you've done.
Yeah, thanks, Philip. So just like everyone, I started out as a new agent. I mean, I started out for an assistant to a top producer in Naples, Florida. So I would pick up her lunch every afternoon and run expireds for her in the morning and do all those things. And then I went from that to being an agent on her team to being an individual agent. And early on, I had great coaches involved that taught me the power of scoreboards and tracking your numbers and understanding that this business comes down to two simple things. You got to talk to people about buying or selling real estate, right? Duh. And for some of us, I don't think we understand that that's really our real job. And then number two, we have to create relationships. So once we talk to people, we have to nurture them. And in our world, we call those ambassadors, right? People that would stop somebody on the street and go, Philip, I heard you mention something about real estate. You got to talk to Brendan. He's the guy, And so there's a formula with how to, make people feel special. I always tell people my only job is to talk to people about buying and selling real estate and then make those people feel special. The challenge that we have as real estate professionals is doing that at scale, right? We can usually do it pretty good for 20 to 25. When we get to 50, we're like, oh, like did my newsletter go out? And let me be very clear when I say special, Philip. Some people think special means sending out your newsletter. I apologize to those out there. Your newsletter doesn't make people feel special, right? Your just listed postcard doesn't make people feel special. We want to be in real estate relationships. And I always make this joke. I want to be in a relationship. I want to have real estate marriages. And then we're just going to have a lot of money babies, right? We're going to have money babies running around all over the place. So yeah, a few of our people made shirts called money babies. And I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but I think it's funny. So, so that's the thing. But if you're not in relationship, that's not going to happen. So as I proceeded, we decided, I sold real estate individually, started my own team. For years, probably 10 plus years, I was selling about 130 listings individually by myself with an assistant. And in doing that, obviously, had a cajillion reps of going on appointments and doing all these things. And so then we started to go, okay, I long story short, I got attacked by a dog on a listing appointment. And that made me rethink how I was doing things because I'd been in the field for so long. And so sat down, went to the whiteboards and said, we're going to build a different team structure that we believe will service our agents and our clients at the highest level. So for the longest time, my team was called the Bartic Group, right? It was me, and we had about 10, 11 agents at the time, and I had this struggle with constantly losing agents because I would train them up, and then they would go, "Well, I don't. It's your name on the sign. Now I'm good enough. I want to have my name on the sign." So there wasn't a we culture, there was a me culture. And then it was always about me giving them something, whether it was leads, better splits, better this, better that. And I kept just going nuts. I had lost good friends, not because, I did everything right. And sometimes I think as team owners, we just go, hey, if we just keep making them money, they're going to be happy. People don't work for money. They work for a variety of reasons. And one of those big reasons is progression, right? One of our core values is progression. They want to continue. And as we know, Gary Keller has always stated, if you don't make a world big enough for people to grow inside of, they're going to go outside and do it somewhere else. And I didn't have a world big enough for people to grow inside. So we went to the whiteboards and we said, okay, we're going to create the 3 pillars of our organization. And those pillars were, we're going to create a path to ownership. So we want to make sure that everyone in our organization can be an actual shareholding, voting owner in our company with bumpers. And I'll talk about those in a second. The second was making sure that we had a path to leadership so that if people wanted to progress and become a coach, a director of sales, we have launch coaches, or want to become our director of marketing. Some of our agents have become roles that fit better their superpower, right? I wanted to create a world where this could grow big enough so people would never have to leave, right? And that was really the process. So path to ownership, path to leadership. And then the third tier that we built was path to passive income. And we did that with a rev share program. We call it G Share, GCI Share. So everyone on our team was like, G Share, it's just a thing that we do, cultural thing. But so G Share, we wanted to make sure that when you help us grow, like Keller Williams profit share, they still get profit share as well. But that as they grow, it was much more immediate. So what I mean by that is in our G Share program, we have a tiered system. And if I bring in Jason, you get 5% right off the top of Jason's production. So Jason closes a deal for $10,000, you get $500. Period. End of story. And then there's levels and there's unlocking certain things. And, we learned from a lot of our competitors on all these different models. So we went and then the last piece is I had to change the entire look of the company. And I say this to most people. Some people get irritated when I say this and they go, well, I've built up my name. My whole area knows my name. You got to remember, I was the number 1 team as the Bartic Group here, and no one knew who we were, right? Like I go to people, I was just talking about this yesterday. I go to people and they don't know what Keller Williams is. And I go, you don't, they're like, what's Keller Williams? And I'm like, it's the largest real estate company on the planet. And they're like, oh, never heard of it, right? So we got in our heads about it. And I always believed I was the one that was most excited to make the change from going from the Bartic Group to now Elite Home Partners, right? So Elite Home Partners, we had to build a brand and an organizational brand that was for everyone, right? For everyone. So it would be a we company and not a me company. And I mean, I had thousands of signs, marketing materials, all branded the Bartic Group. Looked at it and said, we're never going to get out of this 12 to 13 agent hamster wheel if we don't do this. Now, I'm not saying you have to change your name. It was just a fundamental piece for us if you wanted to, grow to the big thing. Now, it's funny, right? Because we work for a company that's under 2 people's names, Keller Williams.
Names. Yeah.
But now what you really hear is what? KW.
Yeah.
Right? You don't really hear Keller Williams very much. You hear KW, and that's by design, right? Now Coldwell Banker is CB, right? You don't really even see the Coldwell Banker, and those were 2 gentlemen's names. So I just say that to get people to start thinking sometimes about ego and mindset and market share. But also, if you love the name of it's called the Susie Smith team, and that's what you want to do, can you still do this? Of course you can, right? We know that success looks different for everybody. But we wanted to scale to make sure that we had a massive opportunity level for everybody to proceed that would live on well after me. My other fear was my longtime internal staff that have been with me for 11, 12 years. If something happened to me, it all stopped. right? I mean, if something happened to me, right, unless they're going to find another Bartic to lead the way, right? I was worried that I
A twin
couldn't hand
brother
off.
you were unaware of. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly, right? Like I was
Yeah.
worried that the baton would not be able to be handed off to that next level. So those were all the thoughts that went into this. And within 12 months, we went from 11 agents to 147 agents on our real estate team in less than 12 months. And so there was a lot of, things that we learned and things that worked and things that didn't work. But those three pillars all combined together with a formula and a regimen and a cadence of success are still the fundamental pillars of what we've utilized to grow. And just like everything, you kind of hit these highs, and we went from an 11 person company to a 150 person company. Now we're at that level, and we're fixing everything at the next tier to go from 150 to 500. And so, as I said before, it's not a straight, the best stock on earth shooting up. It's
Yeah.
a stair, right? You got to go up the first stair, then the next, hit that first jump, fix all the stuff, right? Like all of the things. And so, but the mindset behind that model was a lot like a Keller Williams, like a brokerage model, but with enhanced team services, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we knew that instead of worrying about deal count, it was all about agent count. And we knew when we did X amount of deals on average per agent, it's a lot easier to find more talented agents and agents that want to succeed. And some people might disagree with me. It's easier when you really think about it, just like Keller Williams, to find agents that work with you that are a cultural fit. Some of those agents might want to do 3 deals a year. Some of them might want to do 50. We have agents on our teams that on our team that'll do 1 deal a year, and we have people that'll do 100 in a year. We love them all as long as they're
Got
a
it.
cultural fit, because when the average aggregates out, now the people that do more get different levels of service, right? We have lead levers that are turned on for them. They get different levels of support. But if you're a great cultural fit and you want to do 2 deals a year, that's 2 more deals that go in the overall pot that leads to us being able to do so much more. So I had to go from a mindset of this Navy SEAL mentality where it's like everybody's got to do 50 deals or you're off the team, right? To the entire Navy and going, we're going to have, or really the whole military. And I'm not trying to make it military related. I'm just trying to kind of make the mindset where sometimes we're so invested in trying to get our agents to sell 30, 40, 50, 80 homes a year. Agents are going to burn out. Agents are going to get tired. I don't know any agent that wants to sell 50 homes for the next 20 years. We think that in our minds as team owners, right? They're like, oh, what a life that is. They're going to be making all this money. That is a nightmare. That is a nightmare of a life for most people. I know there's those unique individuals out there. So that's what led us to really building that path to ownership. So when we went to a we company, we took the company and we said, you know what? Just like modeling off of a Keller Williams Market Center, because I was an OP for, a lot, or I still am, but been an OP for about 5 years at that point. I said, okay, well, if every market center is 100 shares, for the most part, I know some other people have different models. I go, if we could build a team and we could have 1 million shares, right? So if we started with 1 million shares and we went to the attorneys and, of course, mapped all this out. And if you do anything, make sure you check with your local state laws. Don't do anything I tell you and get arrested, right? But we went to the attorneys and we said, hey, look, this is the structure that we're trying to create. We created a share structure. We created a operating agreement. And now our current agent population, we have 29 agent owners of Elite Home Partners, right? So 29. So like I said, not everybody's there. There's different qualifications and all this, but to simplify it as best that I can in kind of the time that we have, we started with 1 million shares. We created a simple share value calculation. And that share value calculation was based on the trailing 12 months of our company dollar, how much the company brought in, the money that we have in the bank, so assets, let's say that's $500,000 or use a number. And then you take that number. So let's say that it was, make easy numbers. Let's say it was $1 million in company dollar $500,000 in cash, and then we took that and divided it. Oh, I don't know why I did that. And divided it by the trailing, or divided it by 1,000,000 shares, and that gave you the share value. So our initial share value, Philip and Jason, was like 88 cents. Right? It was 88 cents a share at that time, right? And remember, me as the owner, I own all 1,000,000 shares because it was my company, right?
Yeah.
So as we started to, in our organization, you have 3 ways to get into ownership. You can be awarded ownership, you can purchase ownership. I don't know why it's doing that, or you can earn ownership. So award, earn, or purchase. And what I mean by that, so every quarter you can be awarded ownership. So we have 1,000 shares each quarter that is awarded for our number 1 top producer. They get awarded 1,000 shares.
So it's Apple's new gesture thing that you'll have to go
Gotcha.
into your settings, but I love it. I saw your thumb come up. I was like, it's gonna do it again.
It's
Yeah.
gonna do it again.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Awarded, purchase, earn.
Award, owner, or purchase.
Awarded, purchase, or earned. And so on the awarded, every quarter, if you're the top agent, you receive 1,000 shares. If you're the top G share earner, meaning you were the most person that brought in the most people and received the most passive income, 1,000 shares. And the third is the top team leader. Now, in our world, a team leader is not like a Keller Williams team leader. There'd be more like a PC coach in our world, but we call them team leaders. So because we have 150 people, we have 5 team leaders, and the people are divided between those 5 team leaders, right? So there's kind of like a structure, just like you would in any company, right? So there's a structure within that, and then we have launch coaches on each of those teams and some other layers. But so that team leader, they can earn 1,000 shares, not including their personal production on the production who had the number 1 production for the best team, which was driving them to get their team to be really successful. So when I say awarded, what I mean by that is when I give out those 3,000 shares a quarter, the company buys those shares from me at the current share value, right? So I'm not getting screwed as the owner of them. The company buys them from me, and then they're distributed to the agents. So I just want to make sure people are like, I'm just not going to start giving away my company. And it's like, but you really want to in a lot of ways, right? When you think about it, when you think about 1,000,000 shares, right? Think about 1,000,000 shares. When you're giving out or distributing 12,000 a year, 12,000 out of 1,000,000, we could do this for the next 20 years and we're going to be fine, right?
To be just fine.
But what happens is the agents are so excited about this because ownership matters, right? People feel really empowered when they know this is our company, not his company. This is my company, right? And they get to put owner on their signature line, and they get to talk to people at a happy hour, even if they only own 0.0000005% of the company, right?
Yeah.
That power of that ownership is massive. Then the second piece is you can purchase shares. So once a quarter, we allow people to qualify to purchase shares. When I mean qualify is we still interview people. We've had people that wanted to buy shares on our team that don't have $1,000 in the bank, right? Because they're a new agent. They're so excited. They're like, I want to be an owner too. And we're like, you're not quite in a financial position yet. Let's get you to, let's hold it down for a second. So we have a lot of people that have purchased shares. We've had people that have purchased 70,000 shares, right, at one time, right? So, and then we also use this. The last piece is earning shares. So what was really powerful for us is now we could start having conversations with top team owners that were at other companies and saying, if you join with Elite Home Partners and bring your team here, we provide all of this infrastructure for you. We provide all of these services, and we help you now have an exit strategy, because most people that have a 4 to 5 person team, let's be honest, they're not making a lot of money. It's very stressful. They're doing a lot of work with that team members for the most part, from all the feedback that I received. And what they really want out of a team is they want to help agents because they have a passion for usually helping or teaching, or they want to make money and they want to have an exit plan to get out of production. So we now said, if you had a certain amount of production as a prior owner or prior team or individual, because of your prior production, you could earn shares So we have people that are owners right out of the gate. So now I can have a conversation with Jason or Philip and say, I'm sure you love doing what you're doing, but what if you came with us, right? And became something, part of something bigger. So instead of getting 50% of a grape, you're getting 5% of a watermelon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was really the concept there. So I know that was a lot, and I will ramble on, but does that kind of give a general understanding of it?
Hugely helpful and really interesting. I just want to rewind the tape for just a little bit and just ask you, the pillars, when you were setting up this model for the team, you talked about ownership, leadership, and passive income. Was ownership the driver? Was that the most, like, which of those three do you think was or is most impactful in your team's growth? That path to ownership, the path to leadership, or the path to passive income?
And I would honestly say all three. I think if we would have had ownership without the ability to make I mean, one of our gentlemen last year made $34,000 in the first year from his G share. Now, I've been in Keller a long time, and I have profit share, but I still am not even at that amount, and I've been doing this for years, right? So it was so much faster, and it was easier to keep it visual, and there wasn't all this complicated pieces about, well, the market center has to be profitable. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the KW model. I'm just saying it was a lot easier to have visuals going, he sells this, I know how much he sold it for, I get this. Right.
That.
And so that it kind of engaged the army, our agent army, to go, hey, join us, come with us, at least interview. Let's see if you're a good fit. I never saw that kind of adoption in the market center at any level, unfortunately, that we could get to. So that was a big piece of it. And then I think if people didn't feel like there was the ability to progress, right? Like, we were like, look, we're going to grow really quick. And some of our agents, I've been selling 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, some of them 25 years. They were like, what's the next step? Right? Like,
What do
I
do
don't
next?
necessarily, do I want to go out on this buyer appointment, for this 890 millionth time? Right. And I think so creating those leadership opportunities and making sure that there was a path to growth inside the organization was huge. But if I guess I did have to weigh them, I would say probably ownership outweighed the other two slightly, but I don't think it would have worked without the other two. Because when you have ownership, the pride that you get and our first distribution, I remember we had a meeting, and we brought everyone in. And at that time, we probably had, 14 owners. So when I launched this, we had a big party, relaunched the brand, and I awarded our kind of key veteran players and people that have been like stepping up for a while. I awarded them shares day one because I knew if there wasn't adoption day one and they weren't going to feel like an owner. So I felt like in one day we went from having one owner to 11, and the power of 11 owners all thinking about how to grow a company instead of one owner thinking about how to grow a company. That exploded very quickly in a good way that led everyone going, Brendan, I never got more ideas and more strategies and more people thinking about how we could do better things. And Brendan also, and people wanting to get sponsors, because now that you're an owner, it's like, think about this. Now they're all trying to get sponsors, because you used to be like, all right, Brendan's paying for happy hour.
Go write a check, man. Go spend your money. Yeah.
And now I'm like, you do know that this money comes from the pot. Now, a challenge that some of you will have if you decide to go this route, and I'm always happy to talk offline about it, is you have to be open book, right? Just like Keller Williams is open book. So I had to go back and clean up the P&L, and not that there was anything weird on it, but you have like,
organization. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like certain things on there that I was like, yeah, we've got to make sure this is crystal clear. And I also think what we did is we taught people how to become better business people. So every month we have a ownership meeting. We take them through, we created our own multi-trend report, which is similar to a market center's. So we adapted that. They have a balance sheet. They get to go through a P&L, but now they're looking at it going, wait a second, we spent how much on that call session? We brought all those Coronas in and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, I think we could get a sponsor, because that means we're going to have more profit, and then I'm going to get a bigger distribution check, right? And it's like, yes,
That's it. Yeah.
right. So it helped us change the perception of how we did things at a very high level, and then I think it also helps for retention, right? Obviously for retention, trying to make people unrecruitable. Somebody calls them up from XYZ company and offers them a check to come there. And they're like, yeah, but do you guys have an opportunity for me to be an owner there? Oh, no. Oh, no, I think I'm okay then. I wish you the best.
And I'm assuming you have things in there like if they leave at some point, there's at least certain things they're giving up, right? Like
Absolutely.
make it
So
sticky.
anytime you're awarded shares, you have to be with the organization for 3 years. So you have to vest for 3 years. Then once you're vested, you can sell them. You can do whatever. Of course, I'm the one that approves them, right? As the occupying CEO. So you're exactly right, Jason. There are pages of bumpers, right, to make sure if someone goes crazy or does something. I mean, we had a gentleman that was being challenged with alcoholism, and he kind of went through a bad time, and he was calling up the organization drunk, and he was kind of becoming an issue. And he was an owner, right? He had some issues and went through all this stuff. And so yeah, you have to have those bumpers in place for the what ifs, right? And that's why we have lawyers, right? And that's why lawyers can draft all of these fun what if clauses, right? That we have. But with that too, it's also being very careful. I think the fears that we had initially was like, well, what if we get into business with this person and they are a nut job, right? Or they are not a nut job, but they just whatever. So again, it's all in structuring this. Like you're still going to, with the way that you structure the agreement, you're going to make sure that you still have a lot of, I don't want to use the word power, but control, especially initially, until you have a real board of directors and all of those things. Because otherwise, I mean, at any given time, I can right now, if at any given time, I can just buy your shares out and wish you the best, right? Like period. Like so, there's clauses in there that it's like the, oh no, we got a wild one here clauses. So
not something you do
And
by
this
yourself
one's
on LegalZoom. Yeah.
no, not
this
on
is,
LegalZoom. Do not do this on LegalZoom. Absolutely not.
I have one that it might be getting a little in the weeds, then we can go on to
No,
the next part. But how often are you redoing the valuation of the shares? Is that like a
great
monthly,
question.
quarterly?
Once a quarter. Yeah.
Okay.
So everything is only done once a quarter. So the only time that any awards happen is once a quarter, and the only time you can purchase is for 2 weeks after the beginning of that next quarter. Because yeah, we didn't want to deal with this all the time in real time and people doing all this stuff. So yeah, we set a valuation 4 times a year, and again, we just go back to the previous trailing 12 months. It's really, once we understood it, we were like, it's pretty simple. At first, it was really kind of scary to me, and I was like, this sounds like yikes, this could get complicated. And again, as I said, people are like, well, what about the SEC and what about this and what about that? I want to be very honest. Even Keller Williams International, like Gary will tell you, right? He had owners all along the way that built Keller Williams International. And some of them owned different pieces and massive amounts of the company at certain points. And then he bought them back out of it at later points, and people left and came and all that. So this is if I was just tired of playing small, right? I just felt like I was like, I'm going to be the number one team in the Front Range of Denver, Colorado for the rest of my life. And once you get there, people will tell you, it's like, I mean, we were striving to get to that benchmark, and then you get there and you're like, and like now you're like, okay, you kind of feel let down, and you thought it was going to be this glorious Super Bowl, and it's kind of not, right? It's one day and you're like, yay. And then the next day you're like, okay, now what? And so now it's just looking at it going, how can we be the number one organization in the country? And also the most profitable, and this is a very profitable model because of the structure of it, right? And because, again, when you have a lot of little pieces of money all going into one big bucket, and you have a lot of those pieces, it adds up. So we went from doing 2 million in GCI, or we were probably at 2.5, to in 1 year doing 5.7 in GCI, and that's a huge jump. I don't think people quite understand how fast of a jump that is, right, when you're at that size of production. But that model really helped us do it. And it's also not without its set of problems. I always tell people, it's just, what problems do you want to have?
Yeah.
But now I've created a layer of leadership where, I have a director of sales, a director of growth, a director of lead gen, and these people are running the organization. So I can be on here with you, wonderful, gentlemen, having, teaching, training, podcasting, strategizing, working on the other companies, right? We have a coaching company, and we have a title, and we have all of these other things. But when I had the smaller team, it had to be all me. I was the rainmaker, lead generator, camp counselor, all of those roles, and I just didn't see a way to get to the next level. And
Yeah.
again, like I said, give everyone else the opportunity to get to the next level for what they wanted as well. So
So
that's
I
that's
want to
why.
I want to pause you there, Brendan, because you took a path in which you said a we culture is better than a me culture. I mean, you were conscious about making that decision.
Yes.
Where did you learn to do that? I see that as a challenge for folks, getting themselves out of their own way. Where did
Yeah.
you learn to do that?
Yeah, thank you, Phil. It was honestly a lot of trial and error, of course. For a lot of this is
Okay.
like I always tell this story. The best man in my wedding um, got recruited by Compass, and I had poured into this guy for years. I had taught him everything I possibly could, and when that day happened, it kind of broke my mind of going, wow, like no matter what you do, he's going to move on because there was nowhere else for him to move up. And he never felt like it was we anymore. It was always Scott on the Bartic group, right? It wasn't Scott as an owner of a company. And so
Yep.
those instances really hurt. You lost. I mean, everyone knows, right? I hear. I mean, just like Philip, you guys, we coach. I talk to team owners all the time. They're like, my number one person or my number three person just up and left, right? In 2 seconds, and it just ripped my heart out. And I was like, oh my gosh! And then you're like, what did I do wrong? And could I have done better? And you go through this whole emotional breakdown. And so I constantly realized it was because it was, I never thought it was about me. I always thought we were a we organization, but their mindset was looking at it going, your name's on the sign. You're the one that's getting a piece of my money all the time. And what am I getting in return as we grow? Sell more houses, sell more houses, sell more houses is all I could really tell them. It's like their path was sell more houses or forever, or you're never going to make any money. And there was no exit strategy, right? Without having that passive income G share part, there wasn't a real way to get to a large level of passive income. Now we've got people that have 15 18 people in their G share, and they're making $3,500 a month, from this. That pays your car, your mortgage. It reduces so much stress, and now they can start thinking about wealth building and doing different things. So yeah, I think it was. I wish it was like I was the smartest guy in the room. It was I got punched in the face enough to go. I don't want to get hit anymore, right? And
Yeah.
I just didn't like the feeling.
Well, and sort of in an ironic twist, the by being selfless, we get to be selfish, right? We get to keep the people that we want to keep in our world by creating a more selfless model, right? So
Yeah.
you can be an egotist all you want. Just create opportunities for other people so you get to hang out with the folks that you enjoy. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. And that was really that's what helped us, right? And and for people that are trying to sort this out, one of the biggest tools that helped us is we're big fans of the Gino Wickman book Traction. And
Yep.
so when I said we set out these three pillars, we went to a tool called the Vision Traction Organizer, and I had been using it for several years. And there's a part on this 2-page business planner in the Vision Traction Organizer that's it's like, what are your three uniques? What are the three things that your organization is unique compared to your current competition? And so to preface that, that's how the three things kind of came to life,
Got it.
because we were like, well, maybe it's leads. And I'm like, well, everybody can give leads, right? I mean, everyone and their grandma can go buy some leads tomorrow. But I go, what'll make us unique? Our three unique different differentiators between our competition is it's like, I know there's not a lot of teams that are offering ownership, if any, in our
Any.
market.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Any.
go,
Yeah.
maybe they're creating some line of leadership, maybe. And then do some of them have rev share programs or profit share programs? Sure, right? But but not a lot, not the general majority of them. And so that tool really helped us align. Like I said, got to have clarity. You have to have a very detailed plan first, and then go to work on executing it, and then build the right team around you of leadership that's passionate, that want to have big lives, and the rest starts to come together.
Yeah, yeah. Gary Keller, for those who might be listening who don't know the Gary we keep referring to, right? Gary said at Masterminds this week, and I love the way he said it, right? There are really two paths to extraordinary success. The first path is you set a very clear goal, you choose your model to accomplish it, and then you spend each morning working on the 20%, and the benefits of that compound over time. You arrive at your success, at your destination. And the second path is luck. Just get lucky. Right? Like there's no other way to do it. You set a goal and build a model, and then you go execute.
And be okay with, as you always talk, fail forward. Be okay with screwing things up. Like when people hear this, they're like, "Oh, that sounds like there was tons of issues, of course, along the way, and things that we learned, and we were like, oh, didn't see that buttoned up." I mean, the first time I tried to have the first owners meeting and tried to deliver the financials was, challenging, because it was the first time we ever did it, and people had 1,000 questions, and I'm trying to explain all this stuff, and I'm like, it's kind of like this, like, what do you know? So it's like you learn, and then of course none of it would matter though without culture, right? Like some of this, no matter, you could have the best model like G-share leadership and ownership, of course that enhanced the culture, but we created our own, we call it the ELC, the Elite Leadership Council, as market centers usually have an ALC, an Agent Leadership Council. So we built tiers of internal leadership that were raising their hand going, hey, this is broken. This is not making any sense. I mean, every day we have this, right? Where people are raising their hand and just going, but I don't think they would have raised their hand if they didn't feel like they were part of it, if they thought they were a cog in it, right? I wanted everyone to be a part of it, not a cog in it. So that culture, I think, is really led to us. And I also will be very honest, Philip, I never was one of these people that was like, oh, core values, like it matters. I was like, yeah, the value is let's all make some money, right? I was like, growing up, I was just like, let's make money. So we had to get really clear on our 5 core values. We decided on 5, and we call them the 5 Ps. And it's people, progression, philanthropy, passion, right? We created these core values. So now we use them to hire, we use them to fire, and we use it to reward and provide recognition for our organization. And each one of those has a sentence that goes along with them and all this stuff. And we talk about them in every team meeting, but like the Y4C2Ts, right? I mean, I never realized how important that was going to be. And you'll hear us all the time, well, hey, that's violating one of our core values. We've got to say, I've said goodbye to top producers that were crushing it in sales on our organization because they were jerks, right? They weren't, professionalism is one of our big ones, right? They weren't professional. They would talk to our TCs in a type of way that was demeaning or something like that. 3-strike rule. 1 strike, I give you the warning. 2nd strike, right? This is the last chance. 3rd, you're gone. And so those core values gave us that ability to structure a way that it wasn't just on me going, yeah, you're okay, or I mean, he is making us a lot of money, so
making a lot of money.
Did he make you cry? Oh, okay, it's not that bad, right? So it's like, so I had to grow up as a leader. I'm still growing up. I'm humanly flawed in a billion ways, but just trying to learn from Philip and the Jasons and the Garys and the all the amazing people out there that have poured into not only the masterminds, the coaching, the training, and then just soaking it all in. And I think it's an evolution, right? We're still on the journey.
Still on the journey. Yeah. If for some reason you popped into this interview in the middle half and you're picking up this conversation now, please go back to the beginning, because one of the things that struck me very clearly was the fact that that's not just BS. I mean, you lead with culture. A team that says we hire for culture, whether you want to do 1 or 50, is a team committed to culture, right? Versus,
and it's not easy.
The
It's not easy.
I can't I mean, I
Hmm.
imagine it is not easy. I don't know how to say that the right way, but I can't imagine that's an easy thing to do. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So, and then Phil, I guess with the last amount of time that we have, I know we wanted to kind of chat about some scoreboard
Yeah,
conversations or.
absolutely. Because keeping all this organized, you're the visual scoreboard. You're known as the visual scoreboards guy in the Keller Williams ecosystem. Keeping all of these moving pieces and these people, where are you at now?
47
147.
as of
Yeah.
today. Yeah.
Uh, Keeping that process, that machine going, that's got to present operational challenges. And I know one of the tools you use to manage that flow of information, just the data, are visual scoreboards. Maybe share a little bit about how
Yeah. Yeah. I'll
you
just go through
use
quickly.
that in the business.
So
Yeah.
yeah. The end all of it is we realized if you haven't read the book, The Four Disciplines of Execution, when I read that book, I read it like 10 times, and the Four Disciplines of Execution has a formula. The first discipline or part of the formula is you have to have absolute clarity on the goal that you want. And I think some people don't know what that word clarity means. They're like, I want to sell 50 houses. Why do you want to sell 50? What does that do for you? What do you want to sell? 50 listings, 50 buyers, 25 and 25? Like, we hear people all the time just throw out this number. So we got to get real clear on the goal. Then the second discipline is we know that there's only 2 to 3 things, KPIs, key performance indicators, or we call them lead measures, that if you spend the majority of your energy on these 2 things, all the results are going to come, right? 99% of the results or 95% of the results are going to come. So what I mean by that is if you want to sell 50 houses, then you reverse engineer the 2 things that you're going to do that you know are going to produce the clients that you need. We know that one of those is conversations. And then for us, building relationships, ambassadors, right? So those are our 2. And when we say an ambassador, they have to be on a 46 touch program inside of our system. And we do, personal touches and client appreciation events. And there's all these things that happen inside that 46 touch program. But those are our 2s. For some people out there, it might be, I'm going to do 6 open houses a month. That might be one of your lead generators that you go, every time I do an open house, I meet 1 client. I need 6 clients a month. Maybe that's what you do, right? Maybe you're a huge networker. Not everybody's built the same, but at the end of the day, got to talk to people about real estate. I think we all agree on that. And you got to take care of them. So then the third piece of the discipline is everything has to be visual, right? So we have visual scoreboards for our organization. First of all, we have a laminated one that everyone keeps with them at all time. The one side is your daily accountability sheet. So it goes, what is your goal for conversations today? And what is your goal for ambassador touches today? And you can fill in whether you're talking to expireds for sell by owners, whatever it is. But we know at the end of the day, you need to have 20 conversations, whatever the number is, right? We have a formula that we know exactly how many you need to have. Like, we're big trackers of data. So, we've been looking at these aggregates for probably 15 plus years. I've been doing this 22 years. We know in our organization, every 200, right now we're at 201 conversations on our team on average that people have about buying or selling real estate, either good or bad, we close a house.
Okay.
201. That's for us. It's been as high as 250. It's never really gotten below like 190, right? And that's on average. Some of our agents, a lot less because they have bigger databases, been doing it longer and all of this. So we just try to make sure everyone understands the averages. And then with the visual scoreboard, it doesn't lie to you. After you have your daily numbers, you put your weekly numbers on the backside, and your goal is on the right-hand column. So now you know all you need to do is close the gap. You're going to have bad days, right? We all have bad days. Like a deal blows up and my car breaks down and my whatever dog runs away, whatever it is. But if you know that your goal is to have 50 conversations that week and you're looking at this right in front of you, staring at you on your desk, that you've had 13 this week, then you're not going to get to where you want to go. Your clarity is never going to happen. You're never going to get that second home or the first home or the kids' college fund. And it's only you that's letting you down because you said you were going to commit to doing something and you didn't. So
Yeah.
this is that scale in front of the refrigerator. People are like, how do I lose weight? I go, put a scale in front of your refrigerator, right? Before you open the door, step on it, right?
Step on it.
That's the visual scoreboard that we're talking about. So, and then the last piece of the discipline is to create a rhythm and a cadence of this. We have to make it fun. Philip, you know this. I love gamification, right? So there's contests and games and prizes that go along with, we post our scoreboards in our Facebook group. Everybody kind of vibes into it, and it creates a culture. When you walk into our office, you'll see people with this, a laminated marker sitting on their desk every morning during their lead gen sessions. And then it goes in their Padfolio because they take it with them. I love digital tracking, but the problem with digital tracking is that's the third step. That comes after the visual, because all of us, if we have to log in and put our numbers into something, that one little thing is extra. Now there's apps, right? Apps pop up. I have a Sisu app that pops up. Here's how Sisu app works. It pops up. It's great. It's really cool. I go, yeah, I think I talked to like 6 people today. Okay, I'll put 6. Right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Yeah, 100%.
you guesstimate the heck out of that, and then it
Yeah.
goes away, right? And then it's out of sight, out of mind. So now that's one visual scoreboard. If you could see my wall behind this camera setup here, I mean, we've got everything visual scoreboard. In our office, there's TV showing all of the production, everything. So we just got to gamify, set the goal, and know where we're at, and then know how to close the gap. And so that's what we did. And then one of the things that people ask me, how do you provide leads for 150 agents? We don't. We have certain things that you need to do to be turned on for our leads program. One of them is reporting your scoreboard daily, right? So on any given day, right now, we'll have 18 to 20 people out of 150 turned on to receive lead opportunities in our organization.
Okay.
So when you're thinking about this, how could I afford it? It's because we're in partnership together. If you do the right things, you're going to get the good stuff. You don't do the right things, somebody else is going to get the good stuff. And sometimes you just need time off. Maybe you had a crazy week and you just need a break. Well, you're not going to get leads that week. I think what I saw with a lot of teams is they just keep feeding agents leads all the time, because they're like, if I don't give them leads, they're going to leave. If I don't give them leads, it's like that's not how it works, right? It's just not how it works. So that was my soapbox on that subject. I hope that helped.
It absolutely helps. And that answered the question that I know that if folks are listening or watching and have teams and have struggled with tracking, will be screaming at the microphone is, my agents won't track. I can't get anybody to fill that stuff out.
Yeah.
Well,
because
if
you got to
it's tied
gamify
to, it's not fun and it's not tied to outcomes. If you haven't hired a culture, the people that want to do it, make it fun. What I heard is hired a culture, hired people who want to participate, make it fun, and then tie completion to extra stuff, extra rewards, extra benefits.
Yeah, exactly right. And so I just tell everyone, it's just like having kids, right? It's like you got the chore chart on the refrigerator, right? And it's like when Johnny cleans his room 5 days, you get to go to Legoland, right? We're all little kids. We're just little kids, right? We like to be rewarded, and we like to have visual star charts. It helps a ton.
Yeah. My mom used to run a really big real estate company, and she would say, give me a chart and a box of gold stars and I could rule the world. And what you meant was gold star. Gold star.
Yes.
That's all I need. That's all I need. Yeah.
Because we were just down at Mega Leadership Camp, right? And Jason said, here's what agents want. When they were all surveyed, they want to make more money in the shortest time possible with the most amount of recognition, right? That's what they want. And I think we forget about the recognition part, right? Recognition is so motivating to people. And I think sometimes we just forget that. And a lot of times we do sales contests because we want a certain outcome. So we try to set it up and do this. It's like, if they don't all want it and they're not going to participate, it's pointless. It's absolutely pointless. And so, yeah, lots of fun stuff of learning that along the way. But yeah, the whole thing is culture, gamification, and then again, that fourth discipline, create a cadence. There has to be this rhythm.
The rhythm.
So discipline number 4 is, how do you do things in your team meeting? How do you keep the rhythm excited? What are you posting? We use Microsoft Teams, right? Our Teams channel is, as I was sitting there, there's 19 things happening in our Microsoft Teams channel right now. It's like Slack, right? Like Slack, right? Like, how are you bringing this thing to life? Because we all have the attention span of 2 seconds, right? And in agent world, they're driving around, they're in their car, they're flying all over, they're doing a million things. We're just trying to go, look, let's stay together, win the week by week. And when we hit that, so remember, just clarity, lead measures, visual scoreboards, and win it week by week, right? And have fun. Gamification. So
Yeah. And
that's my
again,
belief anyway.
rewind the tape 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and draw a circle around, a visual circle around what Brendan said about sales contests. The sales contest is for the recognition of the performer, not because you want to achieve a certain outcome. That, for me, by the way, that was my mic drop moment of this conversation. That's really interesting. Really,
Yeah.
really
And it took me a long time to learn that too, a lot of
good
lessons,
stuff.
a lot of
Good.
lessons.
Jason, what questions did we not ask? What did we forget to talk about?
Literally every time I had a list of questions going. I have a couple I'll ask you later just because they are so deep in the weeds, it's not worth it. But every time I had I've been erasing questions because you've gone back to them already. So because I was going to ask about like leads, like, okay, so we're building a team and you have a lot of people out in the market right now that are like, well, what lead sources do you have? And it's like, and it's hard to sit there and say it doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter as much. And so like that came right off the board. So I have all sorts of things I've erased. So,
beautiful.
Answered them
Good
all.
conversation. Yeah. Brendan, I am so grateful that you were willing to share a little bit of time. If people want more of you, what's the easiest way? Where do we find you? And what's the easiest way to get in touch if people wanted to reach you?
So you can go to pulsepoweragent.com. So pulsepoweragent.com is, you'll get a free download with all the scoreboards, a bunch of other free tools, everything that you need. If you just want to ask me about individual questions, it's just info@brendanbartic.com. So it's just my name, brendanbartic.com. We also have a very popular YouTube channel, so you can always check me out on YouTube at Brendan Bartic Coaching. I have about cajillions hours of all of this type of stuff where I just put it out there for free so people can hopefully understand it. Or just call me, right? You can just call or text me anytime. You can Google my name; you'll have my phone number in 2 seconds because we're all real estate agents at the end of the day. But yeah, those would be the main pieces that we could help you with.
Perfect. We'll put links to that in the show notes below, along with, I heard Traction by Gina Wickman, 4DX, which is just out of arm's reach right there. That one lives by my desk as well. I love that. We'll put links to all of that in the show notes. And all I have to say, I guess, is thank you, Brendan. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you guys. Thanks for doing this. I think it's much needed, Really appreciate the opportunity.
Good. Jason, anything to add before we sign off?
Nope. I'm going to go start digesting notes.
Exactly. That's right. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. Be safe. Be well. We'll see you again soon.